Testing, are we good? Can we hear? A little closer. Testing. Okay, testing. All right. Are we ready? Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I need to begin by sharing with you our evacuation procedure. We are in person for the first time in many, many months. So, as a reminder, when we come to gather in a school building, we are required by law to share our evacuation spots. So in the event of an emergency, I would ask that you either exit to your left or right. There's emergency exit doors on either end of the library, and move straight out of the building and just move away from the building to be safe. I would ask you now to join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the reorganization meeting of the Board of Education for the Fulton City School District. It will be followed by a regular meeting. I am now going to do roll call. Tim Crandall. Here. Lynn Lyons. Here. Brenda Abelgore. Here. David Cordone.
Here.
Robin Griffin, here. Jennifer Mainville. Here. Jessica Papalardo. Here. Item 1.05, would someone move it? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. 700. Action item 1.06, please. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. 700. Action item 1.07, and this is up to Mrs. Perry, and she is going to administer the oath and code of ethics.
Okay, if we could all read this at the same time. Everybody have your copy? Should be in your folder.
So we're going to start with this one. We're going to start with the oath, right, Dean?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. I do hereby pledge and declare that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the position of the Fulton City School District Board of Education member according to the best of my ability. And if you could sign those and date it, I'll pick them up.
Thank you, Mrs. Perry. Pass them down. I can pass them on this side. Thank you.
And then we'll go ahead and review the Board of Ethics. Everybody have that?
Yes.
Okay. As a member of my Board of Education, I will strive to improve public education, and to that end I will attend all board meetings insofar as possible and become informed concerning the issues to be considered at those meetings. Recognize that I should endeavor to make policy decisions only after full discussion at publicly held board meetings. Render all decisions based on the available facts and my independent judgment, and refuse to surrender that judgment to individuals or special interest groups. Encourage the free expression of opinion by all board members and seek systematic communications between the board and student, staff, and all elements of the community. Work with other board members to establish effective board policies and to delegate authority for the administration of schools to the superintendent of schools. Communicate to other board members and the superintendent expressions of public reaction to board policies and school programs. Maintain familiarity with educational issues through study and participation in programs providing needed information, such as those that those sponsored by state and national school boards associations. Support the employment of those persons best qualified to serve as school staff, and insist on regular and impartial evaluation of all staff. Avoid being placed in a position of conflict of interest and refrain from using my board position for personal or partisan gain. Take no private action that will compromise the board or administration, and respect the confidentiality of information that is privileged under the applicable law. And remember always that my first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of students attending the public schools.
Thank you. Okay. Item 1.08. At this point, I'm opening the floor for nominations for position of board president. Thank you, Lynn. Are there any other nominations? Do we need a second for that, Jean? I don't. Okay. Okay, if there's no other nominations on Lynn's nomination for Robin Griffin, those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions. Okay. For vice president, I now open the floor for nominations.
I nominate Brenda Applegore.
Okay. Any other nominations? All right. I close the nominations, and now all those in favor of Brenda Applegore for vice president? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Mrs. Applegore. And I did that out of order. I just realized that, Mrs. Perry. It's well, see, under, there's a B, so it's on there twice. I have 107, and then I have a B under, I'm a little confused. I didn't catch that earlier. So we already did B, right? Okay. All righty. But it looks like you want me to move that, so yes, all right. So I'm gonna, yes. Now, okay. Now that everything's signed. All right. Would someone move item 1.08? Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions? Pass 700. Action 1.09, please. And so discussion is the voting delegate and an alternate for the New York State School Board's annual convention, which is going to be virtual this year. I think it's October 18th. I don't believe that's changed
The
yet.
meeting is, yep. The meeting is virtual, not the convention. The business meeting.
The business meeting.
It's the
It's
week
going to be a
before.
week before the convention. Is anyone interested in serving as a voting delegate? Let me ask, is anyone interested?
I will if no one else has a burning desire.
Pardon me? Huh? It really is very interesting. I don't want you to misinterpret. Dave was,
I did do it last year, so
Yeah.
that's why I said it. But
right.
Yeah, I didn't do it the year before.
No, he didn't. Who did do it the year before? Oh, I know who did. Fallon, I think, did it
Yes.
2 years ago. Right. Well, at any rate, if no one else is interested, but I wanted to make sure, if you have the opportunity, I reckon If you want to see democracy at work at grassroots, it is a very interesting activity because I don't know how it is going to be virtually, but when you are in the big room at the
It was
convention.
actually done very well last
Hundreds,
year. Yeah.
did they have the turnout? I forget what the turnout was.
Yep, and they managed to keep a quorum the whole entire time, which was good.
So you get to understand very quickly in that particular meeting how different we are in our viewpoints and how things are approached across the state. It really is an eye-opener. So I just, our two new ladies, it's something that you might want to think about in the future. Not this time, but in the future. It can be very, it really can be very interesting and exciting. All right, so David, thank you for stepping up. And David Cordone is going to fill that position.
Is there an alternate? Just,
And now I need an alternate.
all right.
Okay. All right, and that is the week before, Brenda, so I don't know how that works with school. Is it the 18th? It's
Saturday.
Okay, good. Brenda, thank you for stepping up also. All right. All those in favor on David and Brenda? Aye. Opposed and abstentions, passed 700. I'm going to ask you if you would be interested to batch items 1.10 through 1.26. Is there any discussion or questions on any of those items? I'll give you a minute to look. It's quite a few things on there. Who moved that? Was it Lynn or Brenda? Brenda. Tim, I think? Hold it. All right. Okay, so 1.10 to 1.26. Everyone good? Or you need a little more time? Yeah. We do, and they run, I think, about 5 years. Are they 3 or 5 years, Kathy? So it's something the audit committee will be looking at. We have had some preliminary discussion trying to,
We had talked about putting an RFP.
Yes.
And the timing, you have to do it right, you should do it in the fall, so we just want to time it correctly, but it's something we need to explore.
Okay.
Since I've been here, we have the same one.
Yeah,
Understood, great question.
are there any other questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and abstentions. Passed 700. Item 1.27, please.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Perry, this is a roll call vote.
Mrs. Albagor. Mr. Cordone?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall? Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lyons? Mrs. Mainville? And Mrs. Papalardo?
I will ask you again if you would like to batch 1.28 through 1.31.
Second.
And I'll give you a moment to look if there's any discussion on any of these items.
Yes.
they're putting our, school facilities, prices out there for the use of the buildings, that mean in the fall we would start letting people come in?
Hopefully, perhaps before that, we need to empty our gyms.
Yep, I knew that
And
was
we have to
right.
get the pool heater working over there, we have a new heater on its way. We had a pretty good malfunction in our pool heater at Granby, which I mentioned before.
So to clarify, these will be our rates once we are ready to open up use. Yes. So,
So as they clean the classrooms, things are already, you're starting to see things leave. We have the cafeteria and gymnasiums and starting to end up back in classrooms. Teachers were asked to place a piece of red tape if they did not want something returned to their classroom.
Perfect, thank you. I just have a really
Yep.
quick question. So with outside groups using our facilities, it seems crazy, just want to make sure.
any other discussion?
A quick reminder, Robin,
Yes.
if we're going to speak, you have to have your microphone on.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Aye, opposed, and abstentions. Pass 700. I wonder if you'd like to batch items 2.01 through 2.07.
Second.
And I'll give you a moment. Any questions or discussion on any of these items?
On 2.03, just to draw your attention to the calendars, just to take note that in February, we're on the 8th, which is the second Tuesday, and the 22nd, which is during the February break, which is the 2nd and 4th, just to put it right out there, right up front. And then also in April, we've adjusted, because that hit our breaks again. We have April 5th, and then the 25th we have to do because that's the city vote. As each year, we all 9 districts take their vote on the same evening as required.
So I'm going to ask that if, for any of you, if either of those, the February date or the April date
So the April is
are
outside the break.
problematic, if you would let Brian or I know, so that I know whether or not we can have a we have to have the April meeting has to occur on that date. We can't change it.
The 25th.
So I need to figure out a way to make sure we have a quorum, so we can do the district's business.
I think we did, based on what we had seen in the past, was our February is rather well attended. It was our April one where we've had some issues, so that's why we moved it out of the April break week. And so it is a week early. It is also in the middle of budget time. So you know me well enough, we would probably add on those opposite days is when we add the possible budget workshops if necessary.
Quorum is 5, correct?
4.
4.
4.
For most things. There is a 5 requirement for a few particular votes, but not in this case, so. All right, if there's no other conversation, all those in favor? Aye, opposed, and abstentions. Pass 700. And action 3.01, please. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions, pass 700. That completes our reorganizational meeting for 2021, and I thank you. And we will move on to our regular meeting. I now open our regular meeting. Call it to order. Would someone move item 1.02, please?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 700.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Yep. I'm sorry, Brian.
Make sure we noted that it was added.
This brings us to our public forum. Is there anyone, I didn't pick up the sheet. Did anyone sign up? No one signed up to address the board this evening. President's report. So there's our upcoming meetings. The 27th is going to be a very short meeting. Brian feels that he's probably going to need us to come in to approve hires on the 27th, so that we do not lose people to other districts because we didn't lock them in. July 27th.
It'll probably be, we've done it before, 5 to 15 minutes max. We have heard from some of our prospective candidates, they've actually waiting to see which board meeting's first. And so we want to make sure we don't want to wait till August 10th. So it's brief, but it's an important meeting because a lot of people believe that if you're not appointed until you're really appointed by the board. So, yep, thank you.
Do you think, I mean, how many think they can make it? I know some of you, I think, may have conflicts. You can make it, Jess? David?
Yep.
You may be, Brenda's iffy. Tim, can you make that meeting? Okay, all right. 27th, yeah?
It's a Tuesday.
All right, okay, I'm feeling good about it. Okay, and then, and again, we're gonna continue to meet here in the high school library, until, we are in a position to move well, let me rephrase that, because, Superintendent Polvino kind of likes the layout here. We could stay in this building and not move back to the junior high. The thought was if we go back to the junior high, we would be in that library for our meetings anyways. We're not going to use the old boardroom. One, we need the space for distancing, and, two.
Well, the
because we're
Wi-Fi
doing-
and the
we're
spacing
doing
is
the
much
live
better
streaming
when we're
now,
trying to live stream in it's essentially a
which
classroom.
we didn't do before.
You just can't get a good vantage point in this small room. So I think those are the two
So
reasons
it's something
why.
to think about, that we're not, that we're not committed to anything yet, but as we go forward, we will be revisiting whether or not we stay here or we go back to the junior high and utilize the library there.
So your feedback will be really important over the next couple of meetings if this is working for you, and also be interesting to see what the public, when we have some public come or watching, that'll help us get an idea of what would be the best configuration as well. So.
And then back to the NISBA convention for a moment. The registration's going to open up very soon, so Mrs. Perry would need to know if you are planning on attending the convention in October. It is in New York City. The 24th of October through the 26th. And so, Mrs. Perry, how soon do you need to know that?
As soon as possible. I'm going to jump on August 16th bright and early to be sure that we have
And the
hotel
issue's
rooms.
gonna be
and-
rooms, I think.
I totally agree.
What I've heard from, and I don't know if anybody else has been, I have a close friend that just went and came back. The issue is rooms in New York City right now, and I don't know if they're all gonna be open. Some of the hotels, the hotel where we thought we were going to stay is not going to be open.
But we stayed at the Sheraton before, isn't the Sheraton still open?
Right, but not all the hotels are open. So my friend had reservations and got there and, well, actually before
Yeah.
they got there, the reservations weren't in the hotel. They were
Yeah.
closed.
My nephew said many of the hotels are not
Yep,
open right now.
and the reservations of another
He lives
person, their
there.
hotel was closed also. And so they had to get, whoever they were working with was able to find them another room. But I don't know with a convention going into town, because we usually fill up those rooms pretty good. So it's something to just keep in mind. The sooner Jean knows, it helps her to secure a room, is where I was going with that whole story, to help her secure space. All right. And that completes my report, and it's over to you, Mr. Polvino.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening and welcome to our first meeting in person. As I mentioned just a moment ago, and please give us feedback with respect to the space, and if you hear from any of our constituents about the space and how it looks as we're virtual streaming it, please let us know and we can make adjustments. So this is our first foray into this component. First of all, I'd like to just say we had a great end of the school year 2 weeks ago, and today we got our programs back in place. We opened, we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. I'm going to ask Mr. Carroll if you could speak, and I can put it up on the screen if I can find the right one here. The Title I parent involvement, if you could speak to that briefly. This is an annual review that we have to provide with respect to our Title I parent involvement policy. Mr. Carroll.
Sure, thank you. So in board docs is our updated 2021-22 Title I parent involvement policy. This is a requirement through Title I that we annually update our parent involvement policy. We receive approximately $1.3 million each year through the Title I program. And as with all federal programs, there are long list of requirements that go along with receiving those funds, assurances that we need to make in order to fulfill our end of the bargain for those funds. Parent involvement is one of those key areas when it comes to Title I. Much of the language in this policy is kind of boilerplate, straight out of the federal language, the assurances that we need to make in order to receive those. But you'll also see within those the specific familiar programs that are part of our systems for parent engagement here in Fulton. Our site-based teams, Parent University, our student-led conference program, for example. Much of this is very similar to last year. Actually, it's very, very similar. What we hope to see really come back to life are those in-person opportunities for engagement. The lunch and learns at our elementary buildings, for example, all those opportunities to bring our families back into the buildings. I would say also that a specific focus area this year would be ensuring that the communication, the communication for our families is accessible in all of the home languages of our families in the district. This has been a challenge, and this will be the year when we really devote attention and some funds to ensuring that report cards and IEPs and all this type of critical information for families is available to them in their home languages.
I have a question.
Please.
Could you help me understand, how is the Parent Advisory Council formed? Where do you get the parents from?
So that's a great question. So I've inherited a parent advisory committee, and we'll have to evaluate the membership of that committee and ensure that all of the buildings are represented and also.
But again, how do we get the parents? Can you, I would like to, and if you're not ready to speak to it tonight, I would just like to know how parents know, if, say they want to volunteer to do that.
Sure.
How does that occur? Because that's, again, with our strategic coherence plan, we talk a lot about communication.
That's right.
And part of that is making sure people know that there's an opportunity.
So one of our requirements is to distribute the policy.
Yeah.
Now, that's not real parent-friendly, is it?
No, it's not.
But when we do that, we can make sure to also include the avenue in a parent-friendly way to
And does it require the
participate.
parents have to be, have a student that is part of the Title I, Part A services, or?
So you're alluding to, so we have two types of title distinctions for our schools. Our schools are either identified as a school-wide building, okay?
Yeah.
And that's for reaching a free and reduced price lunch threshold. So 40% or more of the students in the building qualify, then the whole school is considered a Title I school. Otherwise, a school can be considered a targeted assistance school, in which case those funds are supposed to be directed only to qualifying, for the use by qualifying students, okay? We can be sure that the Parent Advisory Committee represents all of those groups in the way that it should.
So what you're saying is not every school would necessarily have one throughout the state, a parent advisory. This is
That's right.
specific to.
That's exactly right.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay,
You could
great.
help.
Sure, yeah,
For the
this is not a
benefit of-
one-size-fits-all
Right.
policy for New York State or really schools in the country. Title I is a federal program, right? So some schools, districts receive no Title I funds. Others receive only targeted assistance, for example. So that's right, that we need to engage our parents. We need to apply all the rules related to Title I in the way that are specific to our arrangement, which is two school-wide buildings. Those are Granby and Fairgrave, with the rest being targeted assistance schools.
So we were high needs buildings with targeted schools, which,
That's right.
okay. And yes, I'm trying to clarify to make sure we're all clear on where this comes from, and then again, how the selection of parents occurs, and if that's something that the current what's left of the current committee.
Exactly.
If they
exactly.
want to have a discussion and visit that for how we make certain we're offering the opportunity.
Sure, and we can update you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else on that, Mr. Carroll? Any other
Not from me.
questions? Okay. So I'm proud that we'll move into the next section for our extended school year and summer programs. I'm proud to report we got out of the blocks well this morning. We have 414 students participating in our summer programs. So we have 95 children in our K through 2 Bridges to Success, another 55 in our 3rd and 4th grade classrooms. This is day one, so chances are we may get some more, but you never know. But here's where we got out of the blocks. We have 123 in our 5th grade through 9th grade program, and 97 kids in our summer institute here at GRB. So that all adds up to 414. And we have 45 students, and participate in our extended school year for our students with disabilities. So we have programs going on each of our schools. Actually, just to give you a lay of the land, we have our K through 4 students are over at Granby, along with our extended school year. We have 2 classrooms of our 1214 children at Granby Elementary. Those are where they're located. One of the things we do here in Fulton, I think is a great idea. Our children for our extended school year are actually in the classrooms for the most part. They are in for the year. So our 1214 kids are actually housed at Granby in those 2 classrooms. They're in their actual settings with the actual equipment. Everything's there. Nothing changes for them. So they just transition right in. We have 2 classrooms at Lanigan. We've got a few kids from Volney that come in from our 1211 programs there, but are participating in 611 programs at Lanigan. We have 2 of those over there, so we have 12 kids over at Lanigan. And then finally here at GRB for the first time, we have 5th grade through 12th grade here at G. Ray Bodley High School. They're in wings, so the 5th and 6th is in one separate wing, 7 and 8 is in another wing, and the high school is in another wing. So we've got them all separated, and that was a great program to walk around today. So 45 kids in our extended school year on top, and then we have another 60-ish in our credit recovery. So those kids that are working to get some of their credits taken care of. So we really have a nice, so you add those numbers up, we're really approaching over, let's see, 500, a little over 650, just about 650 kids participating. Is that math right, Brian? 550. 550 kids in our programs this summer. So it's just great
For
news.
the benefit of those that may be viewing, are parents still able to sign up their students for maybe later, not this week, but maybe?
Yeah, and here at the high school, we're actually in modules or different weeks that they could come in. And if we have children that want to participate in our K4 or 5-8 programs, we never say no here in Fulton. We will make sure that happens.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's just great news to see almost 550 or more of our kids re-engaged in learning already 2 weeks after school ended. It's a good way to start.
So
So
when you say learning, again, for the benefit of the parents, I understand it's not our typical learning environment.
no, there's a lot of
Because
different activities,
I've been
and
trying to convince some kids to join.
it's not summer school. It's summer programming.
Thank you.
And there are opportunities. I actually got to watch, and what's interesting is we even have some virtual. We have 28, I think it was 28, 38 students that are doing the esports virtually. We wanted to be here, so we have some of the kids that were, so we're actually doing it both ways today, so that was kind of interesting. It's the only program we're offering virtually. But there are all sorts of hands-on interactive opportunities. So yes, we're working on skills, but we're also working on interacting with one another, learning how to work with one another once
Having
again,
fun.
and enjoying one another and having some
We
fun.
provide transportation.
We provide transportation, breakfast, and lunch. And with our elementary program, it's a half-day program, but what it is we actually have an extended day program with OCO. Is that correct, Ms. Geithner? Did I get that right?
That's correct. Our Oswego County Opportunities partner, if students attend the morning session and their families would like them to stay all day, they can go in the afternoon with our Oswego County Opportunities Enrichment Program, and vice versa. If they are only coming to the summer program in the afternoon, they can come in the morning at 9 o'clock and be with the OCO team until it's time for the summer program to begin.
And some of our parents, you've done a tremendous job trying to get the message out there. Some of the students, I would say the middle level and older students, are a little resistant to want to come. And their parents didn't really know that it was more geared towards project-based learning. And so I talked to a few, and they're talking to their kids, and hopefully hopefully they can change their mind and trying to, especially some of the ones that are now, that maybe participated, I know they did, in the STEM and had a grand time in that STEM program we ran a couple summers ago. So they weren't understanding, they were thinking it was just summer school. So there is, that confusion is still out there, even though that's not the way you're describing it. People are taking the shortcut and saying summer school, and it's not, I keep correcting that when I hear it, it's not summer school, summer program.
There are many fun things happening. Our 5th through 8th graders started the Olympics today, so that's the theme of the 5th through 8th grade program. Our K-4 students are spending 2 weeks at the beach. That's the theme for the first 2 weeks. So it is a lot of good summer camp style fun and learning.
Do we have that on our website, like in a big bold?
It's at the top.
Okay.
The link to it is at the top, but we can certainly put
I was
out
just
some more
thinking a couple
information.
pictures. That's usually what gets people's attention. Is not, I mean, I know that you do a good job of putting that banner up, but it's pictures that people tend to go to and then say, oh, that looks like fun or interesting.
So can I just ask a question? I'm not familiar with it. I think it's great, especially getting them together after being a year apart. And socially, it's just so important for these kids. Is there a focus? Is there a focus? Is it a math focus? Is it an ELA focus? Is it a STEM focus? Or is it different every couple of weeks?
Go ahead, Dan.
So there is a focus. It is foundational skills, primarily in the K2 program, and in 3-4 as well. So the foundational skill development, really, from an academic standpoint, the main goal is to help these students be as ready as possible for what we know the essential learning is going to be in their next grade level. So these are classroom teachers who are teaching in the summer programs. To the extent possible, they're teaching students in the grades that they have experience with, so they have experience with that curriculum. So in many cases, they're using resources from our typical core curriculum. But again, there's beach hats involved, and you know, the environment is very much summer camp feel. So there's those academic essentials as well as the social emotional, bringing kids back together. What are our social expectations and norms, and being part of a community, a school community.
Any comments on the website? This is the website that we have, so this is actually, and it describes the programs for each. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. It's a good question. Thank you. So we're very proud of the fact that we've pulled this together, and our kids, we have such a great number of kids that are already participating. I need to also recognize the staff, the energy. I don't know where they found it over the last 2 weeks, but they rechanneled it, and there was a lot of excitement in those classrooms. I had the opportunity, actually Dan, Jerry, and I actually walked all the buildings. Today we kept running into each other. And I walked here at the high school with Ms. Parkhurst, who walked around a little bit as well. So great things going on here, great start, and looking forward to what we can accomplish over the next month and a half. And obviously we continue to look at our data from this spring to say, what do we need to make sure that's in place for the fall, and if we can filter any of that, obviously, into the summer, we're working on those as well. So back here. All right. Any other questions about the summer programs?
No,
Sure.
Wait, I do have,
Sure.
I just randomly clicked on the K2 and it
Okay.
says it's no longer accepting responses
Ah.
on the registry. Yeah, that one right.
So down here at the bottom.
Yep.
Google Forms are closed, but the
Okay.
phone number is, you can still call the phone number that's listed, because if it goes into the Google form, we don't want to miss the opportunity of connecting with someone and arranging transportation in a timely
Okay.
way. So the form is closed, but the phone number is still active.
Okay.
So do we want to, maybe we could add that enrollment is still available?
Yes.
Please call. We could add that to the
Yes,
website
call
to make
only.
note.
Yes, just a call
Yes.
only. Yep.
Yep, we'll make note of
Good
that.
catch.
Thank you.
If we were we were interested in doing, just walking through and seeing what it's about, who would we contact? What would be the best way to go about that?
I think with the summer programs, Dan is obviously everything academic, so Dan and Jerry, but Dan is our academic person. And we'll set that up. And normally I would say the principal, as I can feel Ms. Parkhurst over here. But in the summer we have coordinators, a lot of people that are learning how to be administrators. This is their first opportunity. So I don't want to put them completely out there, you know, just because they may not be comfortable. We would have them join or just walk you through the building. So just give Dan or Jerry a call and we can make that happen for you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. These are great questions. Love talking about our kids, so. Alrighty. And final presentation tonight, or just update to the board tonight, is our capital improvement project. I included in your board backup, you have two different documents. You have the executive summary, but you also have the other one. One is 19 pages, the other is 22. They are absolutely identical, with exception of the financials that are in there. We've got the executive summary posted. The financials adjust over time, so that's where we were at the end of May. So right now, yes, we're under budget and all those, but I want to draw attention. We're off to a great start. So on the public website, as well as what you've provided, LaChase provides us a monthly or a bi-monthly update, and so you received previously an update. So now what you have is actually a summary, and what this is a great document for you as a reference. You know, if you have questions about like, what's been done, well, in phase 1, you can actually see for junior high school, Lanigan and Volney, the actual work that has been done. So if you haven't been over at Lanigan, you'll see that they've completed most of the work over there, with exception of the basketball court, which just needs to be painted. Other than that, it looks phenomenal. I've been sharing pictures with you. I've been talking with Mr. Lisi about putting pictures up on a weekly basis so that anybody in the public can actually see at each of the sites. Here's what we did this week at Volney. Here's what we did at the junior high. Pictures tell a wonderful story, and I'm not remiss in stealing ideas. I saw another district that was doing that, and they told their story from the moment they did some the initial tearing down of, you know, site work, doing those right on through the last thing that they, you know, put the screw into at the end to finish a project. And it's pretty amazing to watch that happen from the public's perspective. So what you'll find in this document is that we're making great progress. The work has started at both Volney and the junior high. There's an extensive amount of work, literally, I would imagine thousands of tons of stone going in at the junior high. It's amazing what you find when you take things out. And what you find is lots of sand over at parts of the junior high, which explains why our pavement was lifting and heaving and going up and down. And so they're really doing a nice job putting those pieces in. And so I think you're going to see a significant improvement over the next couple of weeks, and with the target date of August 20th. So there's a lot of work being done at two sites. Yes,
Brian?
Mr. K.
Expecting that?
Expecting,
Did they
correct.
anticipate all that sand?
We knew from before when we had some repairs done a couple of years ago. If you remember, we had one of the drainage, and actually you could put your hand in next to the drainage and there was nothing underneath the pavement. So there was a lot of sinking going on in there, and we knew that. And so what we've done is they've took it down a number of feet and they've built it back up. And actually, just because I was interested, I was curious about how many inches of stone are normally under like a commercial. It's actually 8 inches under a commercial highway. I would imagine there's more than that. I haven't gone out there, but I would imagine there's feet in some cases. Ms. Griffin happened to be there for agenda setting, and we actually observed them working out there the other day. And Volney, you find the base immediately. The rock, after they pulled out, there's the nice foundation was right there. But the junior high is in a different place, a little bit different kind of land, a little bit more settling. I think we've learned a lot about that land, trying to learn from those
It was a good
choices.
call to do it. I think, I have to say, I was very surprised at the depths they had to go. I did
I
not realize
wasn't.
it was that bad. I mean, you know, you hear it's bad, that you got a problem, and then you see the, I mean, stone, I mean, we're putting in stone like this deep. There's nothing
And I'm
that-
glad, because
Well, me
we should have
too.
done it a long time ago. So
I'm-
this is a
I'm
really
not
good,
saying we shouldn't
good
have. I just
project.
didn't, I had no idea that it was that bad until, you know, we heard that first time
Yeah.
that there was that gap.
Yep.
Brian,
But
I have a
never
question,
fathomed the
too.
gap being that large.
Ms. Lyons.
Is this on the website? Because I've had people ask me.
It is on the, where it is, it's located in our board docs. We can, as I was mentioning, one of the things that I was talking to Mr. Lisi, or Dr. Lisi about, is to start, now we're starting to get a lot of, we get a report called the Rake-In Report. I don't know why it's called that, but that's what it's called. And on a daily basis, we receive an update of just things that they worked on, but more importantly, a series of photographs at the site, which I can download, which I've been sharing with the board. And so I believe we can put those on the website. I think that would be a great way. And we could put these reports, because they're actually very reader-friendly.
Well, I had someone ask me what was going on over there, so.
Yep.
I just wondered if it was here for them to see what phase was in and what was happening.
This would take us through the end of June, so this is
Okay.
that report. It brings us right up to this point. But on the website, we could actually, on a weekly basis, we could select photographs for each of the sites. They could actually see the work progressing over time and actually see what we're doing.
And
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted, in addition to this, compliment Brian and his maintenance department, because there's other work the maintenance department's doing that's not part of this construction project that I don't want to see get lost. There's some window repair going on over at the junior high that was desperately needed, and it's being taken care of. So there are some really critical things occurring outside of this project that we've been trying to get to for a couple years
Yeah.
now. So
Well, I think the board made a good decision when we kind of pulled up the reins a little bit when the initial round of expenses came in and that first round of COVID, those bids were pushed up. I think what we've done is we've repurposed and refocused. So, a lot of the 2C work, as you work down through here, you'll see in 2A, the fire alarm upgrades. The building we're in right now here at G. Ray Bodley actually has 2 separate fire alarm systems that do not speak to one another. Think about that. We have 2 systems that don't talk to one another. They're separate. We've had issues. Last year, we had an issue with 43 heads. We're having issues right before the summer program. And one of our community partners who came in and we're able to get them going so we could have summer program here last summer here in this building for our extended school year in particular. So they're doing a lot of work around the fire alarm grades at GRB, Lannigan, and Granby. Those will really get rolling this fall. We extended that because there's been some challenge getting some of the equipment, and other school districts are also, jockeying for the same vendors as well to do the work. Turf and Terrac upgrades, that process is in the planning process. So we'll be doing that, and more information will be coming in that's around the turf replacement, resurfacing and such. We'll provide a board to the board in the coming months when we start to get that all laid out. That'll be very soon. The mechanical upgrades, you can see we really took back the reins, if you will, and we focused on roof ventilators and air handling and anything that it's not exciting stuff, but it's stuff that we need to work on. So these are the areas. You'll see the pool air handling units, pool chemical room, ventilation. Why is that important? Why it's important is that it's wearing out our equipment in there. You put chlorine in a room with mechanicals, the mechanicals tend to wear out quickly. The design has resulted in equipment and pumps being turned over more quickly. So we're going to rectify that situation so that we can address that. And then you can just see some of the other things that we're working on as well. And then finally, these are all the contracts that we have awarded at previous board meetings as well. So and there's a lot of TBDs on there. So those new to the board, you can see that we've awarded no work around the turf or the track. And then 2C is really the final work that you'll be, we shared a scope and sequence at the last meeting, where 2 meetings ago, King was here. For the new board members, we can it's on the website, but we can provide that to you. It's in the board docs. But the scope and sequence really lays out the work that they recommend that we do to finish out our $15.1 million. And then we also have a building condition survey coming up in the very near future. And I want a more hands-on approach to this one. They do a lot of it from a distance. We need to walk these buildings. If there's anything that I've learned, and if any of you ever want to take a walk, on Tuesday mornings, oftentimes Mr. Crump and I will meet at a building once a month, and we'll actually walk the perimeter in the fall to make sure what the damage is, what's there, so that if there's any issues around the winter, we'll know what the damage was. But we also walk the inside of the buildings with the custodians to get a real good feel. If you ever want an exciting walk around, you get to see parts of a building you don't normally get to see.
We'll get to do that also, too, when we
at
do a
the-
walkthrough
yep.
this year, so
Yep.
that opportunity to go.
Right before school starts, we haven't set those dates, but it normally is the Tuesday and Wednesday, right before the week of school starts, where board members, we meet around 5:30, and we actually tour the buildings. We do 3 or 4 one night and 3 or 4 the other night. We often add Erie Street We've added before because some just have never been inside Erie Street and want to see what's going on with that. Or sometimes we actually took a walk through the Ed Center just to see as BOCES keeping it up and whatnot. So we've toured those two buildings. And we have staff in the lower level as well.
Yeah.
So I guess my point of showing, and then at the end, which is probably the most,
I think Tim had a question.
yep, Tim, go ahead.
Do they plan on replacing the trees they took out of the junior high?
So what you will see at the junior high is, if you remember the way it looked like before, so if you were here in the morning, you parked in the parking lot, and the trees were along the inside of the loop, right in front of your car. So you pull your car in, and the trees were right there. You went about 15 to 20 feet, and the sidewalk was over there. All grass, or in some types mud or snow. Nobody would use that. So if you were driving in here in the morning, you were actually mixing staff walking down the parking lot, around in there. You were mixing, and at the end here, we had staff or students being dropped off by their parents. And around back, we created the drop-off zone for some of our smaller buses. That was never designed appropriately. And so what's going to happen now, Mr. Crandall, is that the trees will be on the outside of the loop. There will be trees replaced in all those areas, and there will be a cement sidewalk, not a paved sidewalk, which also has heaved in upstate New York. That heaves. And so you'll actually have a safe place to walk. So if you got out of your car, instead of going out into the parking lot, you can now walk up. It'll be designed such that we can plow it, so it'll be clear. So yes, there will be trees, similar to what we did at Lanigan, where we took out the pine trees that were along the side, along with that fence. And if you haven't seen it, the photograph, there's probably some in this one. Photographs of that work, because this is Lanigan right here. I don't know if they captured any when these pictures were taking place.
It is there.
But I can give you this was a
looking for
little
this
bit
one, right?
before. Yeah, is that where I'm going? So here's an example of what's here now. So this is Lanigan. And in here originally, there were some pine trees. There's some of the old ones over here. And there was a metal fence over here, just if he was here. So that's all been removed. So now what you see is these trees will now grow, and they're all landscaped. So, Tim, there will be trees replaced, and it'll all be nicely landscaped. The other piece is it will drain appropriately. One of the things also, when they were pulling the trees out, I had the opportunity to see a lot of the roots were underneath a lot of the sidewalk, which was also creating some of the heaving that was going on. So really, they were beautiful, but at the same time, we were putting people in harm's way by having them walk in the parking lot. And I will tell you, the only time I saw any kids anywhere near that sidewalk were if they were the bus kids out there at the very end, and there'll be cement there as well. So this should be a much safer and much more manageable situation to be managing or making sure it's safe.
Is, at the junior high, it was all paved, not concrete.
Correct.
Right.
Is that the only school with that? Or has everybody else got sidewalks?
So if you and I ever walk the building, this is from memory, you'll see here at G. Ray Bodley, anywhere where there's cement, it's absolutely perfect and beautiful and wonderful. Anywhere there's, if you go into the end next to the tennis courts, it's all paved. If you go to this end of the building or out to any of these on the right, it's all paved. Out and back, it's paved. And you'll see the same kind of situation. Volney, same thing. It's uneven. It's starting to move. I think when we paved, I think it was a great idea. It was an inexpensive approach. But what you find in the climate that we're in, if you don't have a good solid base under that, what you start to see is the heaving of pavement. And we have a lot of tripping hazards
Emory Street side
as you walk
of
over.
Fairgrave is paved.
Correct.
That is, there's no sidewalk there either.
Yep. So we have a lot of the paving. We're trying to rectify that. One of the things that our Director of Facilities, Mr. Crump, has been doing is working with the business office, even beyond and outside of these. Are there certain sections that we can replace each year with cement to make them more safe? Because right now, as we said, we don't need people tripping, and they are tripping hazards. It's a good question. So you have a series of, these are the exemplars of photographs that we have. These are just a few of the photographs. And look at the difference there. Unpainted and painted. And so you'll see, you can just see how we've progressed with the work. They opened up the mouth. This is one of the things that we actually changed in the design after it was in. This is actually 6 feet wider now than it was. The feeling that we had after we drove it, it was too narrow. So what we've done now is this has been opened up. So this was a bit of an adjustment after we had things in. So this is it. So we opened it this direction and cut this back a little further. And Tim, you asked at the last board meeting about this right here. Those were spots. So you can see now they're striped. So now they're not in the way for as people pull in. So we did lose 2 spots right there. And then over here, we removed a series of spots because we found that they weren't safe. We didn't like the way that was, so this was repainted, which was kind of neat. They were painted initially from the fall. We actually got to see how this would work, and we actually learned and adjusted. So you'll actually find this is a much more free-flowing arrangement now.
And we do plan on using it as a bus drop-off.
If they would have had this done on May 1st, like was the original, Mr. Hendrickson would have been rolling. He already had sent a memo out to parents telling we were rolling May 1st, so we had to pull that back because we wanted to get this right.
Right, but this coming fall, we will.
This will be his drop-off zone, correct.
And I just want to go back to, what was it, 2 years ago, 3? I don't know, Mrs. Abelgore, but a conversation, the principal and the superintendent were conversing about this, and Brenda and I were doing the facilities tour that night, and the principal shared with us the conversations he was having with Superintendent Fulvino about the safety concerns. And this, I mean, to see this come to fruition, I mean, this happened rather quickly. It doesn't normally happen that fast. We just got lucky that the funds were there and the timing was right. But it started out of conversation, and again, I can't stress that enough, that the communication is what helps us get to make things right when people are talking to us, so it's bubbling up and it's not all coming from the top down.
And just to Mr. Crandall's point, that would be Volney Elementary. And that vantage point you're looking at right there, the flagpole was there. That is just all of the asphalt sidewalk piled up right there, with some also from the driveway, but most of this is actually just from those sidewalks. But you can see how they did do a nice job there. See the base of the stone? So they actually had a good base of stone right here. This is pretty good. So now they'll add to that a bit, but the key here is the foundation was pretty good. But it was starting to break apart and become a major tripping hazard. So we decided this will all be cement now, all the way down. And then this will be a parent drop-off zone right about there. Right there. So it's just great. And here's a close-up. This was all paved. So this is Volney again. And then all the way up to the building. As you can see, nice base. Whereas out here, it was completely sand out here at the junior high. No stones. You couldn't find a stone. Down near where the lacrosse, where the kids play the circle there, that end of that sidewalk, or end of the driveway.
Is Lamco doing the work out at Brownlee?
Landco is doing both sites, correct. So as you can see, that's a great picture of the stone, and they've really done a nice job out there. And there'll be a parking zone right here as well for drop-off for individuals with disabilities. This will be handicap parking right here. As you remember, before you had to walk all the way in, so this actually create better access as well. And the single point of entry will be in the center of the building. It will not be at the end, which is also a major safety issue. And I'm talking a lot. Are there any questions? And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Looking forward, we have a lot of work to do this summer, and I look forward to working with the board. There's a lot of information we're still waiting on for our reopening plans, things like that. A little bit of guidance from the State Department of Health would be a good thing. And hoping we can get some of those things taken care of. But we're excited, and it's great to see things going back into classrooms and seeing kiddos this summer in our rooms, and looking forward to hopefully being fully rolling here in September. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So that brings us to item 4.01. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions? Pass 7-0-0. Item 4.02. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 7-0-0. Item 4.03, please. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 7-0-0. Item 5.01. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 7-0-0. Would you like to batch items 6.01 through 6.04?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 7-0-0. Item 6.05. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 601. Would you like to batch items 6.06 through 6.12? Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 700. And this brings us to board forum. Mr. Crandall, would you like to start us this evening?
Oh, I want to welcome our new board members. We got lucky. We got here by 5 minutes. That's almost a record.
It's not about getting there on the time, it's about getting the right information to you.
Communications were good, updates were good. I like seeing, now all the projects like paving, all that will be complete by, say, September 3rd, 5th.
How about August 20th? That's the target date. Mr. Crandall, we're looking for another member of our building. Would you like to, thank you.
I want a hard hat.
Just so you know, any board members, we meet every 2 weeks on a Friday at 10 a.m. I know it's not a great timing. We meet with King & King and LaChase, and we actually monitor, and Ms. Griffin and what was Mr. DeJalorum, we're serving on that committee. I know Mr. Crandall has expressed an interest in that. If anybody else is interested, we meet every 2 weeks at 10 a.m.
Or
and
anybody else want anybody else?
One,
Because
one,
anymore,
one
then I've gotta
everybody,
have a
that's
meeting,
correct. We
so.
can have 3, but if you are ever interested in doing that, or if you want to do a walk around, it's just see the projects. I'm more than willing to even do it in the evening if you want to just walk around and see what's going on. So anyway, I wanted to draw attention to that, so thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Papalardo, welcome.
I don't really have anything to add right now.
That's okay, but
Okay.
it's your turn. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I didn't really I didn't think about anything.
Okay.
So,
That's fine. Well, welcome.
thank you.
All right, and Mr. Cordone?
I have nothing more than what Mr. Crandall mentioned. Welcome to the new board members. Be a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
serve with you.
Mrs. Mainville, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know if you know, but I have 3 kids in the district, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about what we have to offer here in Fulton. So I'm excited to be here.
Mrs. Lyons? Mrs. Abelgore?
Yeah, Mr. Crandall, you pretty much covered everything tonight. That's awesome. No, it's good. That's good. Welcome, Justin, John. It's good to have you guys here. It's nice to be in person again, although I'm not going to lie. I liked the convenience and the efficiency of us being virtual. That was probably one of the perks of our crazy pandemic year. So that was nice. I know that Ms. Geithner, Mr. Carroll, Mr. Palvino, you and your teams have worked relentlessly over this last year plus of craziness, and I do hope that you get a little bit of time during your summer, at least maybe one day, to relax and enjoy yourselves. And that's all I have for this evening.
Last but not least, Regan, welcome to the table officially. And what's on your mind?
I think everybody said basically what I was thinking, but I think from a student point of view, I'm really happy that there are programs available for students this summer.
Can I ask, are you taking advantage of anything?
I am not, but
Just out of
I am considering it.
Are you? I
Well,
like hearing that.
I was like, it looks really interesting, and I think it's a great opportunity for students, definitely.
So could I ask you a favor? You can say no.
Sure.
Here's the favor I have to ask. If you're talking to your friends or peers that maybe you just casually know, if you could just ask for me, just what's keeping them from not coming? I mean, if it's jobs, I get that. But I mean, it would be interesting to know why they wouldn't come and take advantage of what we're on, or at least some of it, not necessarily all of it. I get not wanting to be here all summer.
Definitely, I'll ask.
All right, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
And again, Tim, you did a great job kicking us off tonight, and I look forward to a new year, and there's certainly a lot going on, as Superintendent Polvino said. A lot of exciting things are happening that are so good for the district and our schools and our staff, and most importantly, our students, so I look forward to that. With that said, I'm going to move us to, I don't have it on here, Mrs. Perry. Am I missing? There was a second. Was there a second public forum? I'm supposed to have a second public forum? Okay, I'm just going to put it out there because there are a couple people in the audience. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on a topic on tonight's agenda? Then, okay. I will talk to you after, but the second public forum is only on tonight's agenda. The first one, when you sign up, is for anything you want to talk to us about. We do. And you didn't see the sign-up sheet?
But I think you
I-
come in after the meeting.
Oh, okay, well, this is a learning Yep. Yes. So the first one of the meeting, talk to us about whatever's on your mind. The second one is about the evening's agenda. I would have to get permission from my colleagues. I'm going to go around the table and yes, no. Mrs. Lyons, yes or no? We can, yeah, I think temporarily we can, yeah, okay. All right. Everybody in agreement? This is temporary. I want it on the record. We don't normally do this, so we're making an exception. Okay, so if you could tell us your name? Hi. Oh. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay, yes, and I forgot, it's a 3-minute time, so.
Okay.
Okay, go.
I've expressed some concerns about critical race theory in school. I'm told that it's not being taught, though I've heard it myself. And this weekend, the NEA, the teachers' union, came out and expressed how closely they're working with certain groups. I feel like the children have been through enough. I just think that there's so much division right now, and I don't believe that it's not being taught because I've heard it. My son only came to join at the last 3 weeks of school, so I was around for his lessons, and there was time made for it in like 3 separate classes. Also, the site-based committee, I'm not really sure what it's for because we have a school board, and so it just kind of seems redundant. And
Address me, that's the other thing.
you
have to talk to me.
okay. Sorry, it just seems
That's
kind of
okay. No,
redundant.
that's okay.
It really does.
The site-based committee, I can assure you, that is a New York State requirement. It's part of the Commissioner's Regulations, Part 100.
I saw that it was made law, but it's not in every state.
Well,
And
it's not in every state.
No.
We only deal with New York State and then whatever the federal law governs over us. And
Right.
the oath we took tonight, that's what we just swore that we would do. We maintain federal law and we maintain New York State law. I can't speak for any other state in the union.
Okay. I'm just surprised
Well, I'm
at
just
certain
let-
things that are kind of done behind the scenes because Mrs. Parkhurst was kind enough to share time with me. She sat on something for 3.5 years, which was the concern that by giving the valedictorian that title, that it would not be equitable for all students. That is how life is. I didn't make the basketball team. I tried out for 4 years. It was pathetic. I didn't belong on the team. It wasn't a bias. I didn't belong on the team. This victim mentality is pulling people apart. We need to come together and be proud. We're all Americans. And I am really sick and tired of hearing that it's not being taught, because it is. And that's it. And I appreciate your time.
Okay. There's not been any conversation about it at this board table. There has not. And we've been videoed, and you can go back and view our videos for the last year anyways. We have not had any
The
conversation.
teachers' union doesn't take direct orders from a certain,
Well, they do, but I'm saying again, I'm only going to speak to this district And when you go to the videos, it's only going to speak to this district.
Okay.
Not even our neighbors. I don't know what they're, I only can.
Oh, I
speak-
understand.
I
And I
can
know
only
you've been
speak
involved
to
for a long
this,
time.
And we have not had, this board and the previous board has not had any conversation. There has not. We follow the New York State syllabus, and that's the best I can tell you. But here's how it works. We do have a policy. We're very big on policy here. And it's like 14, policy 1420. So for a complaint, we can, if you would like, and you would leave us your address, we will send you the form, and you can submit your complaint, and then that's turned over by policy to the superintendent to investigate, and all that will be shared with you, so that we are certain that we have specifically your very specific concern.
Am I the only parent, honestly, that has the courage to come out? Because I'm sure that not everybody agrees with it.
I don't know that. You're the only parent I have heard from. Okay.
Okay.
So, thank you
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you for your
appreciate it.
time.
And
Thank-
you know,
no,
it's
thank
just
you
from
for your time.
frustration for everything they've had to go through, all of the children.
Mhm, yep.
It doesn't matter if it's just mine. That's all. Thank
Correct.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So if you want to make sure one of us gets your address. Okay. Anyone else wish to address the board, and it's germane? Okay, no one else. With that said, I am moving back to item 7.02. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions. Pass 700. Thank you very much, everyone, for a good meeting. And enjoy the rest of your week. And the next time we meet will be a very short meeting, and there will be no public forums or,
All this is just to
yeah,
vote on, hopefully we have
just to take care of some board business that has to be done.